Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I mean, like on the song "Time," there's I love the woman um, that does the spoken word part. Her name's Ursula Rooker.
Ursula Rock. Yeah, that's what I wrote down too.
Man,
Yeah.
she's done a couple of tunes with For Hero, and like
Okay.
there's another one on the third album. So the one album
Okay.
just after this one, and basically, this woman is elite poet. Okay, so we're talking about like rappers and MCs and stuff being poets and yeah.
Yeah.
This woman she's awesome, and you should check out some of her stuff.
I definitely will. Definitely will.
Yeah, I mean, just the way smooth voice, smooth vocals, just very, very mellow. But what she says is absolute fire.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Yeah,
that whole story, kind of that imagery that she's laying out on that song. Like at first, I thought it was like when she's saying all the like about "Don't let me go to the other side." I was thinking, okay, is she dying or whatever? But then actually, it's the other way around. It's like a pre-birth into life. And like when she says like scan the planet for my earth nurse, traverse the universe, blessed unheavenly hearth with the gift of me. I know she wants me, but evil's henchmen hunt me. She'll need an army to keep harm from me. Like, and then as you know, it's like, okay, right. So I understand that you're placed in the world, in the school, and you have like the kind of negative influences. So evil's henchmen. She mentions like Satan and stuff earlier on. Kind of vying for you. But then later on, it gets more and more human, where it's like there's this like lack or distrust or kind of like lack of faith almost. Yeah. That's how I took it as it was going. Like, your impunity displeases me as I grow, yet this unity seizes me. In time to be, I will cease to be yours. It's like, it turns out that she's like talking from the perspective as if she's like these different, she's like, what would you call it? Like the soul or the spirit that's incarnated into all the different people of note or like prophets or whatever throughout history. So when she keeps saying towards the end, I am Jesus, I am Muhammad, I am Moses, or when she says, maybe you'll have someone put a bullet in my heart, start my journey. No, not to kill me, just to wake me. So I surrender, so I remember the wealth of my name. Like, I was like, bro, like wording it that particular way, it's like there's no other words that could fit in there to really fully exemplify that feeling. Like, and putting yourself in the kind of mindset of these people who we kind of look at. If you look at it from a religious standpoint, you look at them as not almost being like a level above human, between God and human, right? You don't really imagine someone like Jesus having anxiety or human issues, right? You imagine that he just knows fucking everything and he's just kind of, he's here for us, right? He's here to help us. Same with all of them, right? They're kind of here for a purpose. They're here to do their thing. Whereas the rest of us are kind of a bit more aimless. We have to kind of adhere to the human condition and whatever. We have our misgivings about things, and we don't fully know what we're supposed to be doing. We can't see into the future, but we keep looking back in the past and all that stuff. To go into their heads and to be like, well, maybe you'll put a bullet in my heart to start my journey, as in to bring me back. So maybe this time you'll crucify me. Maybe this time you'll drown me. Maybe this time, whatever body you've put me into, you've got this idea, like talking to God, you've got this idea of how to wipe me out, bring me back home. And then that way I'll remember who I am. I remember the wealth of my name. So my name's Jesus. Okay. That's going to resonate and mean a lot to the world. My name is Moses. That's going to mean a lot to the world. But I'm just here doing this, going through time, coming back. And I'm like, whoa, that humanizes the whole thing. Like, whoa, strange perspective to think of it from.
Throughout human evolution, basically, she is like, it's amazing. Her imagery always reminds me of like what just before birth, because obviously she says till birth's first cry, and then she says alive. But it's also, I think, I always took it as the You got primordial man, like figuring out fire, figuring out like, you know, how to live, and fur and food and hunt and all of that stuff. And then like I always took that when she says till birth's first cry line, I always took that as like the Enlightenment. So when people, you know, the birth of the 20th and 21st century, basically, you know, and I always think
things went downhill. No, I'm joking. Oh, well, debatably, but yeah.
Well, I think things were south for a good few people already, but but that's how I always took it as you know, it was always a double meaning with her. I think that her lyrics, you could analyze this set of lyrics, you could analyze this song, and I'm sure you could come up with about 30 different interpretations of it. I mean, I think it's a work of art personally, but
I agree. And tying back to what you were saying about what we were talking about last time with like rappers being considered as poets and to be as like literary kind of greats. She reminded me when I heard her voice, she's got that kind of black female poets type what's the word, cadence, or kind of
that's it,
something to her voice, right, which makes you know, kind of, or at least like when I hear it, it's like, okay, I've heard this before. I'm already in. I can hear it. I've heard like in like because the Roots have put some like I can't. It's not her, is it? Like who? Because part of me thought that she was the woman on The Cool by Lupe Fiasco. I think it was The Cool at the beginning when it's like they thought it was cool to blah 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 blah. They thought it was cool to. I don't know who that was.
I don't think so.
Because the first track's called Baba Says Cool for Thought or something like that.
That's correct.
And there's like a woman, it's almost, I think, maybe I'm making up the claps, I'm not sure, but like it sounds like she's outside somewhere saying this. Or at least it's recorded that way.
If I remember correctly, it sounds like, oh my goodness, like they're by like a train station or something.
Yeah, it sounds like there's something kind of going in the background. And This is on Lupe's second album at the beginning, and I remember hearing that.
Such a good album.
Yeah. Well, this ties in with Lupe because Lupe is the kind of guy who writes lyrics where and songs where you can just like find all types of interpretations and everything from it, and there's so much depth that you can deep dive into his songs. And he's like a master lyricist as well, man. Like
I agree.
He's incredible. Yeah, like he should be someone who I should have mentioned last time in terms of like studying them and stuff like that. But it reminded me of that woman because I remember when I first heard that when I was a bit younger, I was still at school and thinking, wow, she sounds like the kind of poets we were learning about in school, but the kind of, not the traditional types, but we started to also branch out into these kind of newer guys who would be at these like poetry kind of things we'd go to, like on a school trip or something. I think we went to this one thing once, and you know, there'll be these guys who are maybe a bit quicker in their cadence, and that would always grab, you know, our attention because we're like, whoa, how does he say those words so quickly and stuff like that, and you know, all the rhymes and stuff. But then for me to hear on like a hip hop album, to hear someone who I didn't see really represented at school a lot in this kind of field, sorry, in terms of being a poet and stuff like that, was like, you know, an American black woman who's, you know, saying this in a way that I'm hearing it and thinking, this sounds like poetry. It sounds so weird that back then I was saying to myself, whoa, she sounds like a poet. It's like, no, she doesn't sound like one. She is one, right? But it was kind of take me aback back then. Like, whoa, you mean that people that are just out in front on the street, outside like a shop, just saying this stuff to people can be considered poets? I thought you had to like get training for that sort of shit. I thought you had to go and like pass your English GCSE and stuff. You know, you're so boxed in when you're younger, like in your thinking. That you know, you don't notice that. So things like that really opened and expanded my mind. That's coming from a hip hop album, which, you know, back then as well was always, oh, it glorifies gang culture, it glorifies this, always about the things that they glorify, right? As opposed to, you know, they weren't looking at the Lupes and the Commons and the Nas's and all of them, right? They were just looking at the
storytellers.
Yeah, they weren't looking at them. They were looking at the Dipsets and the G Units and stuff, which all had their place. But it's like, come on, man, it's not all just that. Like,
absolutely, it's easy to package.
Oh yeah, because
You
once
don't
you
get
make
a problem
something other, it's so much easier to fight against that, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, look at this thing, it's bad. Boom, 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 bombard it with all the bad, all the bad labels, right? But yeah, it was cool hearing that. I think, and there was another song I think with the kind of, was there another song with a kind of poet? A poet
Is
on
that
there?
the one 12 Tribes where he's just sort of
12 Tribes. Yeah, this was a male poet this time.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that
was...
for me was, I mean, I listened to that again today. That was the song that I came back to like more and more.
Oh, really?
I never, yeah, it was one it's taken me, my goodness, 19 years to grow on me, but it
Right.
really hit me different today. This album hit me like completely different as an older person. I haven't listened to it in so long, and
Sure.
yeah, 12 Tribes just hit me, and I thought, this is amazing. It's amazing music. I love this album.